You're listening to Docs Outside the Box, episode 48.
Welcome to Docs Outside the Box podcast. This is your official show, looking inside the minds of cutting-edge and innovative doctors. Think you'll find these stories in any medical textbook? Sorry. You're getting real life insight from men and women pushing the envelope beyond medicine. Ordinary doctors doing extraordinary things. Let's start now with your host, Dr. Nee Darko.
This episode is brought to you by Set for Life Insurance. Protect yourself against life setbacks with Set for Life Insurance. Set for Life Insurance gets you disability and life insurance at a reduced cost with their exclusive discounts. Now that's why I use them. Visit www.setforlifeinsurance.com and tell them Dr. Darko sent you. What's good, everyone? And I too. This is Dr. Nee Darko here with another episode of Docs Outside the Box. A couple of firsts on this episode is one, I'm not recording this in the United States. I am across the Atlantic Ocean in a country called Ghana, in a capital city called Accra, in a small portion of Accra called Osu. And Atu, which I said earlier, is Ga for welcome. Now, Ga, which is spelled G-A, is the language spoken by the Ga people, spelled the same way. And that's the side of the family that belongs to my father's side of the family. And we're here for a family event. And right now, the internet access is really spotty. And I decided to, since I'm still jet lagged, to go ahead and bust out a couple of episodes before the morning comes so that I can probably catch some sleep. And then my whole sleep, yeah, you know how this works. So on this episode, I'm going to feature not a physician, but actually one of my closest friends, and his name is Kwesi Asamoah. I recently got a chance to spend some time with him because I was out in Los Angeles interviewing a guest, and you have to stay tuned to find out who that guest is going to be. This guest works in Hollywood and is doing big things, but I needed a place to stay, and Kwesi came through and let me stay with him, and he helped me with a lot of things, obviously with a place to stay. But he also helped me with equipment checks, helped me kind of take some of my equipment and interview this guest. And he also came with me to the meetup that happened late on a Saturday evening when I was there at this restaurant called WurstKuche. And by the way, the first meetup for Docs Outside the Box was a success. Thank you all for those who came. It was the bomb. Go and visit Docs Outside the Box Nation to learn. That's the Facebook group to learn more about what we did. I put some pictures up on there. And I'm definitely thinking that I'm going to do it again. Not sure when, but when it does, you guys will definitely know when it's going to go down. But I decided to interview Kwesi because, you know, he's in essence living outside the box right now. Now, he's trained as an engineer as well as an architect, and you're going to learn more about him in the show. But very briefly, I interviewed him because he recently, in essence, just chucked the deuces to the employed life and was like, I'm out. I'm going to take advantage of this gig economy, and he has not looked back. He's a big time traveler. He's enjoying, his life living outside the box, and being an independent contractor has been very, very good to him. And I wanted to get his perspective and kind of get the story of why he decided to leave being employed and kind of embrace working for himself, and kind of talk and elicit from him just a lot of the things that you all are feeling right now. And in essence, just get from you all the sense that, listen, you know, what you feel in terms of wanting to work for yourself or have the autonomy or, you know, the pride of having your own business name as a physician is something that is not just unique to us physicians. It's something that we all, whether we're physicians, whether we're architects, whether we're engineers, whatever you're doing, that is something that we all, in essence, strive for. So we kind of had fun on this episode. We kicked it. You get to learn a lot about our relationship. As you can tell, probably we're a lot closer than just friends. I consider Kwesi a brother. He was in my wedding party. We met about 20 years ago. And at college, he was obviously he's an engineer. I was pre-med, and we were on the track team, and the rest is history. So I'm not going to make this intro too long because I think the episode, in essence, speaks for itself. Here are the things that I want you to grab from this interview. I want you to get what pushed him into leaving his employed position and going into the independent contracting field. He's got a really, really good quote from a coworker that finally gave him the confidence to embrace life as an independent contractor. And then you're going to hear about why and how we bonded over beer pong. You're also going to hear about why he hates the New York Knicks. And as you all know, I love the New York Knicks. And that tells you a little bit about our relationship, that, you know, despite the fact that he hates the New York Knicks, we've been able to stay really close friends for this long. And then you're also going to hear his tips so that you don't have to stumble when you become an independent contractor. These are really good. And then you're also going to hear, I posed to him the question that I normally pose to my physicians, but I changed it up a little bit. And he's going to answer hashtag, I'm not just an engineer architect. So he came correct and he kept it 100%. I think you all are going to learn a lot from him, particularly those who right now are sitting on the fence. I'm talking to you docs who are sitting on the fence and you're not sure if you should leap, if you shouldn't, I'm telling you, you're going to learn a lot from him. I've learned a lot from him. I've learned a lot actually from a lot of people who aren't in the medical field as to what I wanted to do with my career. And no doubt, I think you're going to have a good time listening to this. One thing I just want to say that there's going to be some ambient noise in the background. We were recording this at the restaurant, so I hope that doesn't distract too much. So without further ado, I present Kwesi Asamoah. What's good, everyone? This is Dr. Nate Darko here in Los Angeles, California, Venice. Is this Venice Beach or Venice? Venice. So that voice that you hear is one of my closest friends, my ace. All the different terms I can use to describe a really good friend of mine, close friend, is Kwesi Asamoah. What's up, man? Welcome to Docs Outside the Box, man.
Thank you, Neve. Thank you for having me.
That's good, man.
We should start with how much I just want to say it's great for you having me on, and the Knicks will always suck.
Oh, damn. So everybody listening, me and Kwesi are avid NBA fans. We both grew up in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area. And for some reason, he fell astray. And he's a Miami Heat fan. I can't understand why.
Nope.
Sound like a bandwagon jumper.
Man. Nope. Just always hated the Knicks. Always hated the Knicks. You know. I mean,
I'm not sure why we stayed friends, but
because deep down in your heart, you knew that Patrick Ewing was the most overrated player.
All right. So listen, I'm gonna edit that out. All right. I'm gonna edit that out.
Just keep it in.
Let's move on. Let's move on. All right. Let's move on. So we
content,
are here,
man. It's all content.
We are here at a restaurant that I can't name. What's the name of this restaurant, man?
It's called. I call it WurstKuche. I think it's pronounced WurstKuche. German.
And we eating here. We having our first meetup with Docs Outside the Box. Just want to meet up with some of the fans, some of the audience members who listen to the show in the California, Los Angeles area. And before the meetup started, I just wanted to get an opportunity to kind of talk to my boy Kwesi because he knows me the best. You know, he knows kind of the transformation that I've gone through from college to where I am now. And also at the same time, he has transformed from being an employed person, well, I'll describe what he does later on, to someone who's kind of doing things outside of the box. So I wanted him to be on the show so we can kind of reminisce, but also at the same time let y'all know that this whole notion of Docs Outside the Box, being outside the box, is not just physician related. So my man Kwesi, Q, Questlove. How many names we got for you, man?
Everything. Quest, K-Dub.
You just made that up.
Yeah.
But listen, let's take it way back, man. Where did we first meet, man?
Let's see. We met my freshman year of college. You were I think you might have been like the third person I met. Yeah. You and Jonathan.
Yes.
In the small dorm in the small university in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Oh yeah, at Lehigh University.
Yeah.
I was pre-med at the time. You were.
What was I? I was a engineer.
Yeah, you were engineering and stuff.
Yep.
And we just kind of clicked. You were a track runner, right? You were hurdles.
Yep.
I was on a track team also.
I started out, my freshman year was a little rough, so I did I did fall track, and then I had to take some time away so that I could get my 1.52 GPA up.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. You were ineligible.
Yeah, I was ineligible.
You was having too much fun.
Yeah, way too much fun playing ping pong and pool. Then those Ghanaian parents saw the GPA set in. They were like, "Yeah, we're paying way." It was like, we've invested way too much in you for you to not perform. So you got to get it up. So I more than doubled the GPA the second semester.
You came back and you were on the track team and you did well, man. Yeah. Actually, man, did well. We developed a really strong relationship. And then we ended up living together off campus, right?
For 2 years.
Yeah.
For 2 years we lived together.
I was doing grad school for 2 years, and you were finishing up your undergrad, and let's just say it was really interesting.
Yeah. Saw a lot, heard a lot.
Yeah, it's all G-rated on this show.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm going to edit it out, right?
It was good. I mean,
and as the audience knows, I never edit anything out. But it's just a recurring joke.
I think the good thing is we learn how to play off each other well. We learn each other's strengths and weaknesses, and I don't know.
Oh yeah, like when you shot me in the leg.
It was it's incidental. It was a BB gun. It was by accident.
I still got a scar on my leg from that.
Hey, you shot first of all. That's what.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. From distance.
All right. So basically, someone had a BB gun. It was boring. It had to be like a Thursday night or Wednesday night or something.
I don't think your audience wants to relive gun gunplay at this moment.
Long story short, I ended up in the hospital.
Yeah.
And there was some hurt feelings for a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we kind of went fist to fist for a little bit, right?
Yeah, there was some yelling, lots of yelling going on. It was actually, speaking of, bringing it back to the NBA, Lakers were playing the Spurs in the NBA playoffs. And
you remember that?
Yeah, and remember because we were sitting in the ER, and we were cracking jokes while that was on TV.
While blood was dripping from my legs. Yeah, I remember.
While
that.
a nurse came over and was like, "This is an emergency room. People are here for stuff. Like you gotta, you can't be cracking jokes and laughing like this." And we were like, "Sorry."
While blood is dripping down my leg.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Flesh wound.
Yeah. So we move on. Let's move on. So, okay, after we lived together, I went off to med school, right? And you had an additional 2 years, was it, that you had to finish up?
Yeah. After you left, I think it was either 1 or 2 years.
Oh, 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, once you graduated with a degree, what, in engineering?
Yep. I got a dual degree in Bachelor of Arts in Architecture and Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering.
Okay. And then from there, what'd you do after that, man?
From there, I moved to Los Angeles, go to UCLA, got my master's in architecture.
Why architecture? I mean, I thought you was doing engineering.
I was
explain that connection.
Kind of realized, like, so when you get an engineering degree, for the most part, it's it's a final degree. So you can go on, you can do, you can pretty much do a lot of the things that you want to do, work for most companies. A Bachelor of Arts degree. In architecture, at least, it's not a professional degree, so oftentimes you have to continue on and get a master's degree in order if you want to get, let's say, your license. So I thought of that, and I was like, you know what, this of the 2 degrees is the one that's really not finished. So decided to get my master's in architecture.
Cool. So this was out in UCLA.
Yep.
I remember I came to your graduation. I was really proud of you and stuff.
Thank you. Yeah.
Your hair wasn't combed during that time. I still remember that, man.
Yeah, man. You living out in LA, you
embraced that Los Angeles culture. Like that was you. You know what I'm saying? Like you was in what do you call that? The warm suits or whatever, the wetsuits and stuff. You was surfing and all that.
Yeah.
And that was like the first time I found out how cold the goddamn Pacific Ocean is, man. Damn.
Yeah. Everyone thinks it's like, oh yeah, it's gonna be like Bermuda. It's gonna be like 80 degrees. No,
son.
You get in water. The warmest it gets is like 65.
Yo, that water was
sometimes it'll get
70. Man.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I would watch movies of people surfing. I could never understand the whole wetsuit thing. I was like, why do you wear a wetsuit, right? Until I put my foot in that water, I was like, damn.
Yeah. It toughens you up real quick, real quick. But
right.
It's worth it.
So you graduated. I remember at your graduation, Master P was there because I think
Master P. Yeah.
He was laying in a cut. He didn't want nobody to know who he was. I'm like, dude, you're like 6'5",
that was actually,
with gold teeth and gold chains. Like, how is nobody gonna notice you?
Yeah.
Can I get an autograph, by the way?
My mother also, as I said, Ghanaian parent. So my mother, who I didn't realize watched Dancing with the Stars, was pointed out. She's like, "Yo, that's Master P." And I looked and I was like, "How do you know who Master P is?" She's like, "I watched Dancing with the Stars." And I was like, "Oh, that's right."
Yeah, man. So you really enjoyed yourself out there. So much. Well, out here.
Yep.
So much to the point that, I mean, you was born and raised in Connecticut, right?
School in Pennsylvania.
School in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And, I mean, this is what? When did you graduate UCLA?
2006.
2006. You never came back after that?
No. Nope.
So for the past 12 years, you have been out here, Cali, chilling, having that life. You know what I'm saying? Like, how come you never came back, man?
Weather. I mean, that's really.
But it's expensive as hell to live out here, man.
It is, but I mean,
gas prices. I mean,
much like living everywhere, you find a way and you make it work. You scratch, you claw, you figure out like what expenses you need, what things you don't. You try and live close to where you work. If you can do that. I mean, here in LA, it's a little harder, but for a while I was biking to work. I had a car. I was able to afford gas, but you don't really. Traffic here is terrible, which everybody will tell you.
Mm-hmm.
But I tried to live 2-3 miles away from work, so I biked to work. After I graduated, I made sure I lived in Venice, just because I loved it.
And that's where we're eating at right now. We're in Venice.
Yep.
This is Venice Beach or Venice? Like
this is just Venice. Venice Beach is the beach area.
And my man, why is it so goddamn cold today, man?
It's February.
I came out. No.
It's winter. It's winter across the United States.
I'm not gonna let you get that. I'm not gonna let you get that because. I'm thinking it's supposed to be like in the 70s.
You've been here 2 days.
I'm rocking a Scully. And I'm rocking a Scully.
Every hour you've complained about the weather.
You
would think that you're coming from like Accra, man. Like no, you're coming from Pennsylvania, man.
Let's just say false advertising. I was a little bit disappointed when I got off that plane, yo. So you just never came back. Obviously, you said it was the weather.
Primarily it was the weather.
It was the weather. Yeah. You embraced the culture and stuff. And
embrace the lifestyle.
The lifestyle. At the same time, I was in med school. I was doing my med school in Kansas City, Missouri.
Yep.
I had just graduated, and I came to your graduation, and vice versa. We graduated the same year, 2006, right?
Yep.
And then after that, you just kind of started working, right?
Yes.
And then I went down to Atlanta.
Yep.
And I was doing my thing in the A, and you stayed in California in this Venice area. And what kind of job did you have, man?
So funny enough, instead of going to work for an architect, I went and worked for a structural engineer who worked with architects. So just to explain the way it works, like most architects are architects, but they separate out like how a building is assembled. So like they'll pass off the mechanical, which is like your heating, air condition, the plumbing to someone else, and the structural engineering, basically the bones of a building. So I went to work for an engineer who, that's what he did. He put together the bones of the building.
So basically but similar to I guess medicine and stuff, you have to go through a bunch of licensing tests, right? Like
to become a licensed architect, you have to take 9 exams.
9 exams.
Yeah, 9 exams total.
See, we got to do like 3 exams, I think. We got to do 3 exams in medical school, and once during one of those exams occurs during like our first or second year of residency, and then we have our board examination after residency, and then we can practice. But you go through 9 of them.
At the time. Now, I think now it's 7. But before they broke it up into what they call obviously multiple choice and then graphic. And so 6 of them were multiple choice, and then 3 of them were graphic. Now they integrate them, the multiple choice and the graphic. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you take those tests, and then after that, you what? Are like board certified? No, because that's what we use.
You take those tests, and in most other states, that's it. Then you finish those tests, and then you can basically that's your license. In California, there's another test that you have to take, and then it's called a supplemental, and then that's the culmination of all your exams.
All right, whatever.
Yeah.
So when do you become like an architect, man? When do you start like building, like designing buildings and like all those different things? What's up with that? When are you gonna do that?
When am I gonna do it?
When do you start doing that? Is that once you finish all those tests? Not
necessarily. Like again, California's weird. To do like single family residential, you don't need to be a licensed architect. It helps to be a licensed architect because then you can get insurance. So work for that engineer. I was working with architects and I was working under an engineer. Did that for 9 years. Basically learned how to do structural engineering for buildings. After that, went to work for a design build firm, in which I worked under an architect and a licensed architect and a licensed contractor. Again, just receive skills of like designing. designing, putting things together, working with clients, putting together budgets, and did that for 3 years. And then I realized, I was like, actually halfway through that, I was like, you know what? A lot of this is on the job learning, you know. And I was still doing engineering. I was doing engineer stuff on the side, and I was like, and it just got to the point where it was too tiring. So decided to just decided to go off on my own, do my own thing.
So, okay. So during that time when you were working for someone, working for the man,
yeah,
I got my air quotes up and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you didn't know any better though, right? I mean, that's what you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what people do, right?
Yeah. Honestly, in architecture, you have to. I mean, it may just make sense to go and work for somebody because you get a certain set of skills when you're in school, and then when you go and work, you get an additional set of skills.
Gotcha.
I mean, same thing is actually for engineering too.
Okay. Okay.
They don't like doctors. Your schooling is your on the job training. Architecture and engineering, it's not exactly the same.
Okay.
Some people do it, but a lot of people don't.
So during that time, did you experience like other people who were just like, you know what, F this, like I'm going to go and start my own firm, or I'm going to start doing business on my own? Because the reason why I'm just trying to elicit like why you decided to go on your own as opposed to continuing kind of working, being employed, things like that. Because now in essence, you're an architect outside the box,
yes.
right? I mean,
yep.
You're doing your thing now,
and
right?
Slightly, and an engineer too. So I had one friend who did it as I was moving from my engineering job to my architecture the design build firm. He went off on his own, and and he said, he's like, yeah, it's just time for me to do it. And watching him do it, watching another friend kind of go off on his own, and me kind of being a hybrid of them and an engineer. After a couple of years, I decided, you know what, it's time to do it.
Do you think it may be because it just seems like maybe like this is a manifestation of technology getting better? You can do things online. People are, this gig economy, right?
Yeah.
Where people are hiring, architects to do work, and
yep.
you can work on.
Yep.
I don't want to say, I'm not going to reduce you and say you do stuff on Fiverr, but what I'm saying is, people can hire you online, and you don't necessarily have to be in a building, so to speak, right? You can kind of be anywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, in order to get the work done, you can really be anywhere. I mean, we'll probably get to it, but after I quit my job, I took 6 weeks and did a bit of traveling. I was able to do work basically do work on the road.
So tell we want to know what. Because with Docs Outside the Box, man, we telling stories of
yep.
Docs doing cool things outside of medicine. Yep. And with you do really cool things outside of, what you normally do. Like you like to travel, you like
yes.
to do all these different things. So,
yep.
What made you just say, you know what, deuces, I'm out. Take us through that moment. What made you decide, you know what, I'm doing this on my own, or, I'm quitting my job and deuces. That's it, man.
Yeah. So my girlfriend is half Australian, half Singaporean. Her family all lives in Australia, and every year we go. Every other year we go. And 2 years ago we went, and I told my bosses, I was like, listen, I'm taking 3 weeks. I gave them 3 months notice. I sent them an email. Right before I was about to leave, they were like, whoa, you never told us you were taking this time off. And I said, yeah, I sent an email. Our accountant was there, and she turns around because I sent her the email also, and she was like, oh no, he told us. And they were like, well, that's a really long time, and they're just very critical of it. And this was unpaid time. This was over Christmas and the beginning of the year, so
this is slow time for you, though.
Yeah,
right?
nothing happened. At the end of the year, there's usually nothing, unless you have a job that needs to get in. But we didn't have anything like that. So there was nothing happening, and so I went to Australia, came back, and they kind of sat me down. They were like, we wonder your commitment to this job. You took all this time, and I was like, well, first of all, I took the time when we were really slow, and 2, I took it unpaid, and 3, it's technically a short vacation because it's Christmas, New Year's, and essentially it was the first of the year. And after that whole ordeal, because it was essentially 2 months of back and forth when I'd been giving them 3 months notice, I was just like, you know what, I can do this on my own. And I was pretty set on that. I had a pretty interesting project that I was working on, and I was like, you know what? At the end of this job, because I like the clients, I like the project.
But you hate being employed.
But I hated being employed. I mean, so just to let you know, like, I was working for this design build firm, but I was doing side projects. I was actually working for a previous engineering employer also, and so I mean, my day was up at 6:30, at work at 7:30, work till 4:30 or 5. Home by like 5:30, usually take a nap until 6:30, up and doing work until 1, 2 in the morning, and then back to sleep.
So basically just kind of on a hamster wheel.
Yeah. It was like that, like after, I don't know, I'd say after like 8 months after I started, it was like that until I quit.
So then after you quit, man, what was the first thing you did, man? You went on a big trip, right?
So decision to quit occurred. I mean, it just basically was like, okay, I'm gonna quit. The project hadn't broken ground yet, and I was like, I'm just gonna stick with this until it did. Architecture and construction slow. Things took a while. At the beginning of 2017, I was like, no matter what, I'm leaving this job at the end of the year, because it was our Australia year. And so in like August, I was like, the project wasn't far along enough that it'd be done at the end of the year. So I decided I'm gonna book this trip. I decided I'm going to take the second half of December and all of January. I was like, I'm not coming back. I was like, I'm going to so when we go to Australia, we do Australia. We'll do Perth, we'll do Sydney, and then we'll do like a short trip to Bali.
So Bali, just so everybody knows, like Australians consider Bali like their Caribbean.
Yeah,
right?
like it's what Californians go to Mexico.
Right.
East Coasters go like to Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, the Caribbean. Australians go to Bali, or like people on the west coast of Australia go to Bali.
Right.
Yeah. And so I decided, all right, this is our trip. I planned the whole thing out. I was like, okay. Funny thing was that when I was getting my tickets, because I was just essentially getting a one-way to Perth, I had to have a long layover. I had a layover in Dubai.
Dubai, yeah, I remember that.
So I was like, you know what? Never been to Dubai. I'm gonna go stay here for 4 days. So set up the whole trip. Basically flew to Dubai, was there for 4 days, just went around Dubai, visited the Burj Khalifa, which is like the tallest building in Dubai, probably close to the tallest building in the world. Saw a bit of the culture, went to Perth. After that, went to Bali, where I surfed, was on rented a studio on the side of a cliff, surfed for 3 days. It's beautiful. I recommend everyone goes to Bali. I mean, that's kind of the big takeaway that, I'll interrupt my travels and say that, like, that was kind of the big takeaway that I got from those 6 weeks, is that just there's so much of the world to see. There's so much of the world to see.
So you discovered that travel is your thing.
Is your thing. And just opening up. So like after Bali, we went back to Perth, then went to Sydney. In Sydney for 6 days, where it's just like, walking around, seeing things. Like, I mean, this is my third time in Sydney, seeing things I'd never seen, taking like train, like went to see the Blue Mountains in Sydney, which is like basically their Grand Canyon. Just talk, like I met your industry never leaves you. So I met a flooring guy, who was, so we rented this apartment building in Elizabeth Bay. The flooring guy, me and the flooring guy, we talked, talked to him for a couple hours. Then that was essentially like what Sydney was like. From Sydney, went to Japan.
So what was Japan like, man? Japan. Let's talk, because you told me about Japan, and I want to know, because you drink now.
I don't drink. No.
Well, you had a couple of drinks.
I had, yes.
And the reason why this is important is because, I know the audience is like, look, I don't want to hear about all this, like, business stuff. I want to know about this relationship. So let's take it back. Before we talk about Japan, right, let's take it back to Lehigh.
Yep. Never drank at Lehigh,
but you was like always
played all the drinking games.
But you was flapping at the mouth all the time. You got me in trouble.
Yeah, talked all the junk, but never drank.
So let's take it to that night. Let's take it to the night when you got me in trouble with this game of beer pong.
Yep.
You challenging other folks. Yeah. Man, you tell the story because you do it so well, right?
Yeah, we lived.
Because I barely remember it.
Lived in a house, had a beautiful like beer pong table. People came into our house.
No. We had the beer pong table of beer pong tables.
Yeah.
Our roommates, look, it took like months to build this table.
Yeah, we had a roommate who built it himself.
Yep. It was slicked down, beautiful.
Painted it
nice, long.
Yep.
It was in our basement, and we would just have these like ridiculous parties off campus.
Yep.
And and so one day you was talking mad smack with someone.
Yeah.
They challenged us to a game.
Yep.
I'm sitting here talking to other people and stuff.
I'm like, yo, man, come on, we got to play. And you're like, what? And it's like, come on, man, they challenged us in our house. I was like, we got to play, we got to beat them. You're like, all right, let's go. And
so we play like what, 8 cups back?
Yeah.
And people who are listening and they know about beer pong, 8 cups back, and we did like a 6-pack on each side.
Pyramid goes to 1, 6-pack on each side.
And although we don't, condone underage drinking.
Yeah.
Actually,
I mean, by that point.
Oh yeah, at that point I was of age.
You were of age, and I don't drink, so.
Right, but disclaimer: Docs Outside the Box. We don't condone underage drinking, right? We got to say that.
Yes.
So, but we know what happened, right? So, we was playing.
Yep.
Right. We was.
Well, we saddled up to the table, and I grabbed the ball. I shot the first ball, and I airballed it. And you were like, you like, you got to drink. I was like, I don't drink, man. You got to drink for me.
No, like I handed you the cup. Like, here you go.
Yeah. I was like, nah, man, I don't drink. And you looked at me like, what? I was like, nah, man, I don't drink. And you were just like, I got to drink all these by myself. And I'm like, yeah, man. And you were just like,
let's just
like
say
the biggest sigh of like disappointment. It was
let's just
like,
say it was a rough night.
Disappointment and slight fear.
Yeah, I finished that night. It wasn't as bad as. Well, it was bad, but it wasn't that bad.
Yes.
So we fast forward to Japan now because you don't really drink at all. Actually, you did drink.
I don't drink. I did not drink at all.
So you ended up in Japan. You ended up going to where?
Sapporo. Yeah. So we spent most of our time in Tokyo, but there's a gorgeous temple designed by this architect Tadao Ando, Buddha temple. I'll show you pictures in Sapporo. So we went up there, and we flew up there on a Thursday night. It was snowing, like a foot of snow. We got in late. I was like, you know what? I'm in the mood for some sushi. It's like 11 o'clock at night. I found this place, walked in. It's in this like basically a office building. Walked in. There's a businessman there and a chef. Just 2 guys.
Sounds like a joke, actually.
Yeah. And here comes his brother walking in, and they're just like, they don't speak any English. I don't speak any Japanese. I sat down. We figured it out. The businessman offered me some, like, actually the chef was like, yo, do you want, he goes, beer? And I was like, yes. And he gives me a beer. I sit down. I take a sip.
But wait, hold on a second. Like, dude, you went your entire life without drink. Like, but why at this moment the guy just says beer and that's it?
Because I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do, because one of the things I decided to do in Japan was that I am going to try every food. I'm going to try whatever food is offered to me. I'm just going to try it.
Yeah, but that's not liquor, though.
No. But I mean, it goes to just accepting whatever the culture's doing.
Gotcha.
So the beer was offered, so I was like, yes, I'll drink beer. The businessman had a bottle of soju. It was maybe like a quarter done, and I was like, he said, he holds it up, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'll take a little, and so he pours me some. And then I finished that, and it was hard to finish. It was terrible. And then I like look away, and as I'm looking back, he's filling it up again. We did that for 2 hours. I probably had like 5-6 glasses of soju, and by that point I was like, I can't drink anymore. And that was my night. It was fun. We were communicating via Google Translate, which.
Man.
I mean, how amazing is that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't speak Japanese. They don't speak English. We're using Google Translate, and we're just talking back and forth.
Right.
They're asking what I'm doing. They're asking what I do for work, and I mean, somehow I felt like I had this like heartfelt conversations with these 2 men, and we both didn't speak each other's language, but because of some app, we were able to communicate.
That's what's up, and you were able to, in essence, have a drink.
Yeah.
And have a good time and break bread and politic with people, halfway across the world.
Across the globe. Yep.
That's what's up, man.
All just because you just kind of let your guard down. And you're just like, all right, this is what I'm going to do.
So now you're here back in California.
Yep.
You're doing your thing.
Yep.
You are not employed. What's it feel like just not being employed, man? What was it like? Because there's something that I want you to share with the audience that someone told you about jumping.
Oh, about leaving work.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So my first friend that left work, he said, listen, you just got to leave. He was trying to get me to go off on my own for like maybe like 2 or 3 years. But and I was like, I don't know. He's like, but listen. He's like, listen, leap and a net shall appear. He got it from somewhere.
I like that.
But I took that with me for like the moment I decided, I'm going to do this like a year and a half ago. I was like, all right, leap and a net shall appear. That's all that went through my mind. It's just like, I will figure it out. And honestly,
what was the hardest part?
Of leaving?
Yeah. Just what was the hardest part of just, being on your own? Do you think it was easier just to be on your own? It was like, I figured it out, or was it the hardest part actually leaving?
The hardest part was actually saying like, I am going to do this. I am going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once you commit to that and you do it, you figure out the rest. Mm-hmm. I mean, I will give people this advice is that make sure you put things in place for yourself. So like, health insurance.
How hard was that?
Health insurance?
Mm-hmm. Buying that.
Actually, the accountant at the company I worked for, she was great. She said, listen, like, you have full-time health insurance. Your company, like, you can basically have the same health insurance that you have here, but just pay for it yourself.
Okay, so that became a tax-deductible expense.
So, I mean, and that was health insurance that, like, I didn't have to go look for.
Right.
Like, I basically had the same plan. I'm just paying for it now.
So you didn't have to go on the market or anything
Nope,
like
didn't
that?
have to go on the market.
Although, going on the market is very easy. I can attest to that.
So, I mean, I actually did that. I did it, too, because I have a friend who that, she takes care of it.
It's easy as of now.
Say again?
It's easy as of now.
Yeah, as of now,
it
correct.
could be getting more difficult.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yes. Set up a business account. Mm-hmm. Like, go to the bank, set up a business account. It's really easy to do.
So don't commingle personal versus business?
No, never. Because, the reason why you don't do that is because, God forbid, if you get audited, you just show, it's your business account.
Don't bring that negative energy in. Don't be mentioning that A word up in here,
I know.
right?
My mistake. But this is, my accountant, my accountant told me that too. He's like, listen, set up a business account. You keep things separate. That way, like, you can charge things to the business account, and you can easily like tell them this is what these things are for, as opposed to, you buying groceries and those kind of things. Like, no one will know.
Okay, so what about like how have you been able to handle like the consistency of income, or budgeting? Because your clients don't pay you on a monthly basis.
Correct.
Obviously, right?
Yep.
So that's always been an issue, not just for doctors, but obviously for someone like you who's in a service industry.
Yeah.
In industry.
Yep.
Like, what if they don't pay on time, or like, how do you make sure that you pay yourself right and you can eat on a monthly basis?
I was lucky enough because I had money saved off before I left. I'd work. I was, as I said, I was basically working 3 jobs, and so I was able to like save money. I was able to save a bit. But what I will say is that, me personally, I'm still figuring out the budgeting thing. Still figuring out like how much I'm going to pay myself, because I still have student loans that I have to pay for. I still have rent and I have to pay for. I technically own my car. Like, I have the payment for my car in another account that just pays it off. So I use it to build credit, let's say. But those kind of things I'd say I'm figuring out.
I love it. So I like that you got real with it. You don't have all the answers, but one thing you ain't going back to being employed.
No. Yeah. That's for sure. Is that like I tell you now, and like you become way more regimented when it's your own. That's the one thing.
I love that. Talk about more about that, yo.
As I said, I used to wake up at 6:30, at work at 7:30. Now I wake up at 7:15. I'm at my desk at 7:45. I used to be done at 4:30. Nope. I'm done whenever I have to be done. Mm-hmm. Yes. Now I can take a nap whenever I want. Sometimes I do, but other times like I'll work from 7:30 to 7:30 to 5. Take a little break and then continue working some more. These are things that like you realize, like if you have clients, if you have people who are depending on you to produce work, you just have to work. Like, there's no, like, you are your own boss and you have to get things done.
Love it, man. I love this answer, man. This is we can go on forever with this.
Oh,
man,
as I said, I'm learning this stuff. Like, you told me to listen to Tim Ferriss's podcast. I have been. What is it? How it was built? Like, you listen to that, and like, there are people who own billion-dollar companies who started in garage, like much like Apple, much like Microsoft, and they had no idea what the hell they were doing. There are people who were running $1 million companies, and they didn't even have a bookkeeper. They were just figuring it out, like day to day, week to week, month to month, learning by doing, learning by failing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm completely afraid of failure. I think everyone is.
Really?
Oh, I'm terrified.
I'm not afraid of
Terrified
failure. I'm not afraid of failure anymore, man.
I mean, I'm not. Yes, I am afraid of failure, but for me, it's one of those things that it's just like let it come.
Okay.
You know, because it's another task. It's another thing to get over.
Got you. So look, we're getting towards the end of this interview. This has been good so far, though, man. This is really it actually turned out better than I thought it was. Let's do some fast fire questions.
Okay.
What comes off the top of your dome piece? You ready
Yep.
to do this? Ready? All right. So let's like for real. Like how is it that you're raised in Connecticut, but you a Heat fan? You like how I transitioned?
Yeah.
Like how you do
it's
that?
It's because I hated the Knicks. I hated Patrick Ewing. I don't. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, but like
It's
why
not-
not
it's
like
not-
why not
it's
like the
not-
New Jersey Nets?
Because they're not the Knicks' rival. Like we grew up with the 90s. You grew up with the 90s Knicks. Like the Pacers and the Heat were the Knicks' rival.
Please.
Which is why I love Reggie Miller.
Knicks, yo, don't get a drink poured on you right now, man. So listen, man, what's one thing you want the audience members to get from this podcast, man? What do you want them to take away from your words? What's if there was one thing that they can pull from you? You know what I'm saying? I know you don't do podcasts and stuff. What do you want them to get from this?
To listen to people. Listen to people. Listen to yourself. That's. I mean, talking with you the last couple of days, I've realized that you have. I mean, the information you provide, the knowledge that you have. I mean, everyone out there, you should be contacting me as much as you can because he's just experienced. I mean, you've just experienced so much, and
we're just drinking water now.
Yeah,
right? 'Cause you're
no,
not drunk,
I know. But I mean, I never realized like how much like.
I mean, dinner's on me. So
Yeah,
you ain't gonna.
you're staying at my place, so. Yeah, but like I mean, like I didn't realize how much doctors, like for a non-doctor, knowing that like, oh, doctors just make a lot of money. That's all you know.
Yeah.
Like lawyers make a lot of money, but like that doctors don't know that like they wield more power and they use what 5% of it, 10% of it at most.
Right.
So I mean that's something that I've gotten from you, and it's just like wow, like that's kind of a tool that I will use moving forward. But I highly recommend that like people listen, and contact you like. Well, you were talking about like contracts, like, before you sign that contract, send me an email.
Man, I ain't got all that bandwidth to handle all that, yo. So audience members, y'all can contact me. I may have to end up pushing y'all to someone else. But yo, all right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, look. So you spend a lot of time in the West Coast now.
Yep.
So we both hip hop heads. We grew up with mainly East Coast stuff. Lords of the Underground, LL Cool J, Biggie. Wu-Tang, Tribe, all of that. And now you get experience to Too Short.
No, never.
Okay,
never.
so all right, I'm gonna give you 4.
I think I know where you're going.
I'm gonna give you 4 albums, right?
Okay.
You gotta throw away 2.
Okay.
You gotta keep 2.
Okay.
All right. So you ready? Tribe. Don't. I'm just gonna give you the 4.
Okay.
And then you tell me. So Tribe Called Quest, Biggie, Tupac, Snoop.
Oh, that's easy. Come on, Biggie and Tribe, man.
Biggie and Tribe.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Cause I mean, like, I have what 5, 6 Tribe albums. I don't even know how many there are.
Man, you streaming? Why are you lying? And now you streaming?
I'm streaming. Midnight
like you got
Marauders.
this collection. Like you be blowing it off and put on the record play. Shut your
Midnight.
please.
I mean, Midnight Marauders is a great album.
Oh, it is, man. It is,
like,
man. It is.
It's just nah.
So what do you think about like the current? Because we both love the NBA now.
Yeah.
Like, who's your team to watch? Like, what do you? I mean, obviously you're not a Heat fan anymore because I know you bandwagon. They suck. So
Listen,
who do you like watching right now?
I'll tell you. Like, if you're a true NBA fan, this is a great time to be a fan of the NBA. I watch you and I. Let's just say we have the NBA TV package,
right?
And
two separate logins.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 separate ones. And so I try and watch as much as I can. I will say watching Philadelphia play is lots of fun, much like watching Golden State when they first started was great. And other teams like the Bucks, it's okay. And then obviously just watching the the possible train wreck in Cleveland. Even though LeBron, I love watching LeBron play.
Yeah, man, he's amazing
Yeah.
to watch, man.
Yeah.
He could take any team and
Yeah.
at least get them to the, East Coast or Eastern Conference Finals. I think, man.
Yeah.
He's a once in a generation type player.
Of
transformational as
Yep.
well as transcendent. So
Yep.
I definitely agree with you there. So look, man, I normally ask my guests, because they're mainly physicians, I'm not just a doc, and it's a way for you to kind of answer something else. So I present to you Kwesi Asamoah. I'm not just an architect.
Well, it would be, I'm not just an architect / engineer.
Oh, excuse me.
No. I always have, for some reason, it's a weird duality that I'm personally fighting.
Man, answer the question.
Let's see. I am not just an architect. I'd say I'm a human.
Okay.
Just because humans learn. I love learning, like I'm learning to play the piano. I want to learn how to be a woodworker. I want to,
And you travel, and I
Yes.
I can tell whenever you travel, and you've always traveled.
Yep.
You always like to basically, immerse yourself
Yep.
into that
Yep.
culture, and it's almost like you feel, there's no different races. It's just you want to feel a part of the human race. So
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's what's up, man. I
Yeah.
like that answer, man.
Yeah.
Yo, Kwesi, this has been fun. Thank you for letting me stay at your crib. You know
No
what I'm
problem.
saying, for a little bit.
Thanks for
and
putting up with my new dog.
it's all good. Yo, your dog is sweet, man. But yo, this has been fun, man. I hope we do this again. I know
Yeah,
this
man.
has been a little bit of a different vibe, a little bit of a different episode. We got the music playing in the background. We're getting ready, break some bread and have some fun and stuff. But I just wanted to really, stress the importance of how entrepreneurship, no matter if what field you're in essence, the concepts are the same, right?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So once again, I appreciate you sharing this. This is your first time doing a
Yeah,
podcast.
it's my first
You
pod.
did excellent, man.
Yep.
So, if people want to learn about you, people want to, let's say, hire you or something like that, how can they learn more about you, man?
I have no social media presence.
True that.
It's funny.
True that.
I'd say you can send me an email. My email is Kwesi, KWESI.Asamoah, ASAMOAH @gmail.com.
That's what's up, man.
Yep.
Hey, man.
Hey,
It was good, man.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks for being on the show, man.
And everyone listen to me. Or as I call him, Pius.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So true to form, Kwesi always forgets something, but he wanted to share one of his favorite books that he likes to read, and he thinks that the audience can learn from. Go ahead, man.
It's called The Artist's Way. Unfortunately, I don't know the author, but I recommend getting it. I recommend following it.
What's it about? Quickly.
Basically, it's
'Cause I'm hungry now.
It's basically about it's basically like breaking the roadblocks that prevent you from being a quote unquote artist. And it's not just like a creative artist, as I was telling you. It's just doing anything. It'll make you, like, you have to journal. I mean, you write in a book, and it breaks all those roadblocks. And what it'll do is it'll build your confidence as to who you are. It'll clear your mind in terms of being like what you want. And like it'll force you to go do what they call like artist dates, which is exploring, just going out and exploring things. And that'll be like that'll be like basically your rebirth into being, into moving into being entrepreneurial, because you'll start thinking and seeing the world in a completely different light. So I just recommend it as just a book.
What's the name again? And
It's
you use all
called-
these metaphysical terms. Damn,
It's
man.
called The Artist's Way. I mean the book has a lot of spiritual elements to it. Whether or not you are a religious person or spiritual, it's still, you can give or take that. But I recommend reading the book
what's up,
and
man.
following it.
Thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Another thanks to Kwesi Asamoah for keeping it real, keeping 100 on the show. Had a really good time interviewing him. If you all want to contact Kwesi, you can reach him at Kwesi, that's KWESI.ASAMOAH @gmail.com. I'll put that link in the show notes. Also, the recommendations from Kwesi, the book, The Artist's Way, as well as the Tim Ferriss podcast link is also in the show notes. I'm really interested to find out what you all think about the show, what you thought about this episode. Remember, you can always engage with me with the Docs Outside the Box Nation Facebook page. Just log on to docsotbnation.com and you'll be able to get into the Facebook group, and you'll be able to share what your thoughts were on the show. So look, I'm going to catch you all on the next episode. But before I jet, remember one thing. We only got one life. Let's make it count and live outside the box. Peace.